Naraghi, and welcome to One Final Twist.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
How was Japan?
Oh, it was great. I was taking my books around. I was trying to sell them everywhere.
I bet. Did you have any luck um, getting them out in Japan?
I sold it to one person. I think my bartender.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, again, thank you for joining us. We'll talk about both books. We don't want to spoil too much about book two, so we'll talk more about book one, even though they tie together.
Yeah.
So, when you um, began your career, you started as a structural engineer, then you went into acting, modeling, and now you're a writer. Um,
A lot of
how
hats.
did that all evolve and pivot you to becoming a YA thriller slash horror writer?
Yeah. Um, so I started I went to school for structural engineering at UCSD down in San Diego, and I hadn't done any acting or writing related stuff before that, but I joined the improv team when I got there, and we had general, I forgot what they're called, GEs. And for me, I thought it'd be good to balance out all the math and engineering with like theatrical and acting, and I loved it. So I was continue doing those for the next 4 years. I got a job as like a production assistant on campus for like three of the years. And that just kind of kept building up and growing. And then when I graduated, um, I immediately was like, I kind of want to do acting, but I already have this degree in structural engineering. I should probably, pay off all the work I just did to get this. So I did that. I did that as the main job, and then I was doing writing and acting on the sidelines, like on weekends and my 5 to 9 outside the 9 to 5. Um, and then like a year and a half, 2 years in, I thought, I think I have enough built of my acting resume that I can make this transition and make it like somewhat seamless. And but then I also thought, maybe not. And it wasn't until I got cast in this like to do background on this movie. It was like this wrestling movie, and I did wrestling for like 14 years. So I was like, this is perfect. It's like, what a transition. Um, so I went up to LA and filmed that. Um, and that movie gave me like all these vouchers that you need to like act professionally in LA, which are kind of hard to get. So it was really just like stars aligning, everything was fitting. So I moved to LA. Um, and yeah, I kind of just kept growing from there. I would write my own scripts to like film, and then eventually I got to the script that I was like, there's no way I can film this on my budget. So maybe someone else can film it. I'll make it a book. Maybe someone else will like it enough to film it.
So
So,
the house rules started as a script, is that what you're saying? And
Yeah, I never finished the script, but I did like outline it as a script.
uh,
So I'm definitely gonna try and do that at some point. My roommate also offered to do it for me because it's been so long since I've written scripts now. It's all been book layouts.
right.
I
But
understand that it started as a movie. The house, or not a movie, shoot, a dream. The house roof
yeah,
started as a dream for you. So, like, how close to the dream did the book, or is it just kind of the fodder for the book, the dream?
it was pretty hand in hand, I think, with it. I remember I usually don't write my dreams. I always tell myself I'm gonna remember it, and you never do. After a day, it's gone. But I woke up that morning like sweating, and I was like, I think I need to write this down. So I wrote it in my notes app. It pretty much got most of it already laid out. It didn't have a lot of like, because dreams, they make sense in the moment, and then you read them back, and you're like, this doesn't really fit normal logic. So I had to add in like more of the finite details of like why and how things were happening. But beginning was the same, the end was the same, and then I had like some plot points that I remembered throughout it that I sprinkled in. So it really made it a lot easier to kind of know what was happening, but also be free to change it in the middle. So that was nice. Because I personally I like writing without knowing what's gonna happen. I kind of just have like my first like what are the little dot, first dot, second dot, and then you can make however you want to connect them. But you
So
know where it's
you're
gonna end eventually, so you kind of have like it like narrows down your options so you're not going too crazy, but you still have room to grow.
so you're a pantser and not a plotter.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So, the house rules was the title wasn't your first choice. I was talking to
Mhm.
Rachel Harrison back a few weeks ago, and she said, I despise creating the title. And
Mhm.
her last book, which is Play Nice, um, she said a production assistant just threw that out there, and that's how it became the title. How
Mhm.
did you come up with the house rules?
It was like I was trying to come up with something that I kept having ideas, and then I kept checking Google Books, and they kept already being used. Which is ironic because House Rules is a book. The House Rules is not. I've later found out after publishing, so that was probably the biggest regret of me of this whole process. Because I feel like a lot of authors don't realize that until afterward. When you make your book and it sounds close to another book, and you put it on Amazon, you're just like competing with a whole list of
Mm,
things that'll make you just keep dropping down in the rank. But this one started out as I think the house runs deep, and I had the cover kind of made like a kind of like the um kind of like a fallout shelter. Like it had like the house on top and like a long like kind of cave, and then it
uh,
opened below it. Kind of like I think it's Cloverfield Lane, like that cut
yeah.
movie cover, like that,
Hmm.
or Fallout, kind of like that too. But then I pivoted from that. Um, I think it had to do a little bit with like, poker hands. Like when you go to a casino,
Mm,
um, everyone you call it the house, and then there's like the house rules. And I thought that it could be very open interpreted.
yeah.
Did you like doing like picking? So I know since you're self-published, like
Mhm.
you got the control over your book cover and nobody had their, or did you like having that kind of control, or was it almost too much and you wanted help?
I wanted help. I was I was stressed out because I'm a perfectionist. I needed someone to be like, no, it's good. It's fine. Just stop changing it. Especially with the second one, I must have changed it like 45 times. I just kept updating it over and over again. Like yeah, I have both of them. This
Mhm.
one was just like I had a cover illustrator do this one, and I was like, great, someone else's hands. But the second one I did, so I was like, I'm just gonna keep editing this until someone tells me to stop, and nobody did. So
Uh,
So one more question about the between the two books. The house rules is, and so I haven't read the second book, so I don't really know if the Amazon page count is correct, but it says that the second book is actually much longer than the
it
first book.
oh
is.
yeah,
So did
It
you feel
is.
more comfortable writing the second book? Like, is that, or was the story, were you more engrossed, or did the story go that much deeper, or
I felt like I had a lot of reviews for the first one, and they were all like, love this. I wish there was more detail. I would love to dive deeper into it. And I was like, you know what? So would I. But in the moment, I didn't know. I was like, this might get a sequel. I need to see how it's liked first. So I didn't want to go too crazy with the backstory because it's a very fast-paced book. It's kind of hard to like stop, and because the whole thing takes place in like one night, that makes it very hard to kind of pump the brakes. Um, but the second one, I would write something about the first one that I wanted to expand on, and then it was like a tree. It would expand and form new plots, and then I had to dive into those, and they kept getting bigger. And somehow the first draft, it was like I think 300 pages, and
Mhm.
then when I was editing it after my editor gave me the notes, it just like gained 20,000 words, and usually you lose words, so I was really shocked. It was definitely a shock. I love the length it's at now. I think it's at, let's see, the first one's at 260-ish, and the
Mhm.
second one is at 360, so gained 100 words.
Wow. Um, when when you wrote book two, you kind of shared that on Instagram with most of your fans that, I'm going to write a book in X number of days, and you pretty much chronologically did it on Instagram, and then you teased a little bit about some of the arcs that were in the book and all that. How
Yeah.
did that work out for you? And with the final product, what were did that keep you on schedule to get it wrote in that many days? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that was in February maybe. Yeah, I
Mhm.
had started the book a little bit. I think I probably wrote like somewhere around 10,000 words maybe. And I thought, this is just going. I wanted to release the book a year after the first one because I know it's a hard time of the year because the first one came out October 12th. The second one I thankfully got to come out like October 16th.
Mhm.
But once you pass October, then you start going into the holiday season, and like horror and thrillers kind of start fading to like romance and comedy and Christmas and holidays. So I was like, I have to get it out now, or it's gonna wait till like January, and that's too long. So I was like, if I finish it, if I do this like 1 month thing, I can finish it in February, and then I like set up the whole thing. I was like, I'll do my developmental editor here, and then this, and then copy editor, proofreader, beta readers. I like time allocated everything. It worked out to like the exact day. I was so shocked and I was so stressed because I was like, I have to get this out by October 16th, and and then I would edit too long. My editors did great though. They finished everything like in remarkable time. I was the problem trying to edit from their edits, and I would get in my head,
But well, it turned out
just take forever.
great. The second book turned out as good as or a little bit better than the first one. So mission accomplished there. So really did enjoy that one.
Thank you.
Go ahead,
I'm
Tracy.
looking forward to reading the second
Yeah,
one.
I
I feel like the
personally
second. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, go. No, I'll
I
take
always feel
compliments.
like
I'm glad to hear.
the second book is like that make or break. I see a lot of authors who are writing in a series in the second book. It's like the sophomore year, in the NFL. And so, I'm anxious to get into this one because I have been hearing really good things about him.
I'm glad. Yeah, it's like a double-edged sword because I like the second one so much more than the first one. I really like the first one's an escape room. Like I wanted escape room puzzles. And the second one I really just made them. Like I designed full-on jigsaw rooms. I felt like a little psychopathic when I was making them, and it was so much fun. And also so tedious. But the whole time I was like, this would just look so good to like watch this like cinematic rooms. Um, and yeah, so I'm mad that the second one you have to read the first one to get to the second one because I feel like the second one would draw you in so much faster than the first
Mhm.
one. But I guess that's a good problem to have versus the second one being a downhill slope.
And
Do
the
you,
second one, it kicks off. I mean, it's like, within the first couple of chapters, things
Mhm.
start happening. So mission
Yeah.
accomplished. But go ahead, Tracy. I'm sorry.
do you feel like that your engineering background and being able to make these rooms really like helps it to make so that people don't kind of try and debunk what you wrote? Like to
Mhm.
make the everything accurate?
I tried to make this book pretty accurate. Well, the first one, I started writing it while I was doing the engineering, and I was making mansions, designing mansions and apartment complexes in San Diego. And I took like pieces from them and put them into the mansion in my book because I thought some of them were just so, I was like an art gallery in a basement. That's so unique. I'm adding that in. Or like, just like, um, mostly just like hidden rooms that you'd find in a house that you would be kind of surprised about, like corridors hidden behind kitchens, stuff along that. So I was like taking all these pieces and like building a dream house out of it. But for just getting things accurate in general, I try and reach out to people that know stuff. Um, like for this book, there's like spoilers aside, there's something to do with fencing. One of the characters is very good at fencing. And I reached out to my old roommate from college. She was on the fencing team, and I was like, I need you to tell me if all these scenes are correct because I don't know how to fence. And I'm basing this off of the one practice I watched of you, so we're gonna go off of it. And she's like, yeah, I think that's correct. No one's gonna burn you at the stake for getting that wrong. So that was kind of trying to get things accurate as much as possible.
So in one of the interviews you earlier, you mentioned the imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
How I don't when I read book one, I gave you some feedback on it. I got some vibes from other stuff, but not necessarily imposter type stuff. How
Mhm.
did you overcome the that issue that you were having uh, to be so successful with these two books?
I mean, I feel like I still have it. I'm just trying to like bury it under under if I just keep putting out content and making and moving past it, then eventually I'm hoping it just fades to the background because you don't have time to worry about it. If you keep doing stuff, you have no time to be stressing about what you're not doing. Um, and I feel like when you make your own books, it's also like you don't have a lot of people that are telling you if it's good or bad. I mean, you could have beta readers, but they can only go so far in the moment. So that's kind of where a lot of the imposter syndrome comes from, I think. You make these books on your own, you're the editor, you're the writer, publisher, marketer, then you don't really get outside feedback as much. So you're like, well, where what's gonna happen here? Like where I'm just basing it on what could happen. Versus like when you do traditional publishing, right out the gate, they're like, we hated that, we don't want you, or we love that and we want you, which could be either very validating or very soul crushing.
Yeah, you speak of traditional publishing. I spoke to a guy the other day, and he was talking about it's the most mundane process to
Oh,
in
really?
traditional publishing. He's a self-published guy too. Um,
Okay.
and he was talking about, the whole process of you have to have an agent, and then you send the query letters out or the submission letters out, and that takes
Mhm.
up to a year to hear back, and then another year or so, and you're before you know it, something that you have dedicated a year of your life
Yeah.
to complete, it's 4 or 5 years before it reaches the public. And this, and people say, "Oh, you're self-published," but that doesn't take away from the quality of what you write. Because some of your books are, I mean,
Yeah.
they're up there. I mean, they're really really interesting. I was never a YA reader until
Mhm.
I read House Rules. I went in high school. I read Stephen King. I mean,
Mhm.
of course, I was in the 90s, 80s rather. So, there was a different high school back then than it is now. But, my senior English not thesis, but report, big year-end project was on The Shining. You know,
Okay.
that was how it was back then. I never read fairy tales and any of that stuff. I went
Mhm.
straight in, but you introduced me into what YA is, and to me it's great. I read a lot of YA now because of what you have done.
Oh, I'm glad. Yeah, I feel like it's a wide range. Um, the YA because you could have like you read it or you see like the YA and you're like, oh, this is gonna be like I don't know, fantasy or like very like whimsical, and then you read it something and it could be like the most soul-crushing, eye-opening thing you've ever come across in your entire life. And you're like, oh my God, who hurt this person? How did they make something so like just elevated?
Yeah.
Do you have an author that kind of inspired you or led you down this YA horror path?
Um, I didn't really have a horror author that pushed me, but I feel like I think I said it once before, I don't know. But when I was writing the first book, I was so nervous about like pushing it out as a book because I was doing like writing like short films and stuff like that, so I never really had experience writing books. And I thought, well, that transition seems really hard. And then I remember seeing this interview with Stephen Chbosky, I think that's his name, or how you say his name. But he did the Perks of Being a Wallflower, the book and the movie. Um, and he was saying that he wrote the book and he'd always been writing screenplays before that. And then he just decided to make this book on a whim and was nervous about switching over from screenplays to that. And I thought, well, that came out so well. I was like, why not try it? Why not give it a try of my own and actually just push it out and do it? And so I think that interview was it was really helpful to get over that imposter syndrome that I was talking about earlier. Um, but then and I also love that book and that movie, and it's like definitely in my top four of both.
Oh yeah.
But for authors that write, I think it would count as young adult. One of them, I really like Anthony Dower. Also, don't know if I'm saying his last name right, but he writes like Cloud Cuckoo Land and All the Lights We Cannot See, which they just made into a TV show or limited
Mhm.
series, I think, last year. I really like those books. I think some of them are young adult. Cloud Cuckoo Land, I believe, is, and that one's a wonderful story. Definitely also one of my top four favorite books, and it's like 700 pages long, but it's a great read. It doesn't feel like it though, because it's like three different time periods at the same time, and they cross over each other, and it's great. Highly recommend. But I really like how he writes. I like how they both write. They're very different, um, but in both in like insightful ways.
Who are you
So
reading right now? What book are you reading?
Um,
Do you
I
have a current read?
I was reading. I forgot the name. I think it's called "The Man Who Died Nine Times" or seven times. Yeah, seven times. It's like a kind of a groundhog Day book about this, but it's more. It's kind of like it's about a murder, and then the main character, he like has this weird genetic trait where he like randomly will get caught in Groundhog Day situations for 9 days at a time. So it hits him like once a month or a couple times a month, and then he's like, I'm just in my 9 day Groundhog Day cycle, and he has to wait it out. So the book is like it happens to fall on the day that his grandfather gets murdered, and so he has 9 days to try and figure out who's doing it. But also um, I think he's like trying to because like when the grandfather dies, someone gets the inheritance. So it's like, do I save him or do I try and get the inheritance?
Mm.
So it has a nice little twist to it. But I actually don't know where it went, so I haven't been able to finish it. I think I was reading it on the plane from Japan, and I don't know where it went. It might be in my luggage.
Oh. As a person who acts and models and is in the entertainment industry, how do those
Mhm.
how does that complement your writing?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I feel like for acting, I learn a lot about dialogue and how less is more. Uh, the hard part is just is showing the more in words, like all the side eyes and the lingering and the just I don't know. I guess from all the scripts I've read, I try and now show more from like having people move when they're talking in books because I feel like a lot of times you're not really just standing still talking to someone. If the conversation makes you feel anxious, you're like doing laundry or like pacing or you're doing something and there's always like an extra layer that adds to a script. So when I read the scripts, I get that those kind of teaches me more about that. And then when I'm watching all these movies, like 9 movies a week, I'm getting all these different like kind of plot structuring that also helps, I think. That was definitely a big one for me. It's just the amount of movies I've watched. It kind of like builds the formulas in your head. Because I feel like movies and books, they're very uh, equal on that part. You have like the plot idea spaced out versus like on a TV versus or on a screen versus in a book. You can kind of like see the sections in your head the more you read or write or watch.
Is
So
there something that you would like your readers to take away from when they close the book? Is there something that you want them to walk away with or to remember? If you could pick something, what would it be?
I think like in general, or like I guess for the first book, I think it's really about self-confidence. It's definitely a like I feel like for a majority of the book, he's trying to seek validation from other people and the lack of that. And then the second book is about I feel more like guilt and overcoming trauma.
Yeah.
So those are the two things I guess I'd hope for that people are like, okay, I saw that somewhere.
Do you have oh, maybe I can't ask this question. If I can't ask this one, then we can edit it out.
Yeah, I
Is
can
there an
add it.
Easter egg in the second book? Like I love when I'm reading an author and he has put an Easter egg or she from book one to book two that you have and you're like, oh my God, I just found that. Is there one?
Um, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the whole thing kind of is there's one, I think. I'm trying to think of what I can say.
I know. So no,
uh,
that's enough. That's all I need to know. If there's one,
No,
I'll find it.
no,
trust me,
it's
Teresa.
there's I will say there's a mirror that you'll
Tr
see when you finish the second book.
yeah,
Okay.
tr trust me, Teresa. It is well worth the read.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
It
do.
was.
I will say though, I don't know about for Easter egg, but when I finished the second one, because I had never really thought about it before. When you write sequels and like series, you have to pretend like the person hasn't read it. Like you have to pretend like you're working with the reader who hasn't read it in like 2 years. Because they're like, who is that? Who I don't even remember who that is. So my editor was like, you have to like explain like bring back everything like someone never read the first book. And I had somebody and one of my editors hadn't read the first book. She just read into the second and she's like, okay, I understand what's going on because you kept referring back to things from the first one to kind of build like reconnect the audience. So I think I might have accidentally made Easter eggs just from that alone. The whole Easter basket of random inquiries. But there is one scene I think when I imagine it as like a movie, as I often do, I try and picture it as like scene by scene. To kind of it kind of helps me edit out like the things that aren't necessary in the scene or in the part of the book. Um, there's one part in the second book that if it was a movie, I would record it when I was recording the first one to like make it time lapsed. Um, and you'll see it when you see it.
Um, speaking of the pacing and the tension building that you're able to do, how do you decide to use description versus action um, to get that across to the reader?
um, I've been told I didn't don't think I necessarily did it on purpose, but I've been told that I'm very descriptive of rooms. I thought that was a normal thing to be very like I don't know. I want people to visualize the entire space that they're in, especially in a house this like grand as in the book. But I felt like this is definitely a plot-driven book, so I would push with action. Um, I'm now working on a character-driven book right now, and I'm finding it very hard to kind of flip that, where you have to be first person talking about using words over actions in a way that's not just um, over explaining and barking out words.
Yeah.
So I think it's still a work in progress.
So your next book is not going to be in the series, right? We're going on to something else. You want to tell us a little bit about what's coming up for you?
Yeah, of course. I've restarted it 6 times now. I keep I keep doing it and then I keep rereading it. I'm like, no, I think it can be better. Um, this new one is a historical fiction coming of age. I describe it as Paper Towns meets End of the World.
Hmm.
So it's very of course there's like a beautiful little road trip of youthful people leaving their town for the first time, trying to experience um like re-entering society basically and having to try and come to terms with their old life and their life entering this new world. Um, I'm like trying to remember what I've already said so I can so it's not a spoiler. Um, Basically the book is about these the Doomstowns that they had in the 50s
Hmm.
that they used to test nuclear bombs. So there's two of them that were in real life, but in my book there's three. And the third one is where this book takes place in this abandoned nuclear testing site that was never used. So just like imagine a town or like a strip of town in the middle of Nevada, and all these people that were looking for places to live and work during that time would move. Were like traveling across the country. They'd stumble upon this town. They kept building on the town. They decided to live there, and then cut to present day. Now there's like a whole community of people of nomads that have moved in and kind of built this untitled town off the brink of society. Um, but it has this mesh of like people from the 50s, people from the 70s, the 90s. So it's like got a lot of culture in it and it's built from that. Um, and then the book is just about what happens when the government comes back and tells them that this is not like you can't be here, you have to leave. So it's like how do you um, deal with that fallout of moving out and moving on and trying to keep it. So that's the that's where it's a lot of it's been very hard trying to figure out how to write this town. Especially like I'm like how does a town make a sewer system? How do they harness electricity? All these things that I'm like I never really thought about. So it's making me think.
So for younger writers, emerging writers, especially those coming from a non-writing background as yourself, I mean, you started as, an engineer and acting.
Mhm.
What advice would you offer them?
I would say um if you think of something that makes you feel passionate and warm, like even a sentence that you think could be some, or like if you watch a movie or you read a book and you think, I would just love it to be, I would love if there was a book or movie this way, then you should just start writing it. Not, don't even think about the plot. Don't even think about what you want it to be. Just start writing something. Open a Google Doc and just see what happens. Get a couple pages in, read it back, decide if it's something that you're still passionate about or if it was just something you wanted to get off your chest. And if you're still passionate about it, just keep expanding on it. I feel like when you take time to stop and decide if it's a good idea, that's when you start backing out. But for me, I have to do a lot of like a kind of like you dive in and you get too far before you realize that it's a bad idea or it's an idea you're nervous about, and then at that point you have no, you're already so far in, you decide to keep going. Is my is my idea of just tricking your brain. Um, so I usually just tell people start out, get a couple, try and get a couple chapters in, and once you reach like three or four, then you've already kind of built the basis, and it's a lot easier to keep going, and you can fix it later. But once you get that far, you've already kind of set the foundation
Yeah.
of writing.
All right, I'm going to try and stump you. Are you ready? I'm going to
Okay.
throw you for a loop.
Mhm.
All right.
If you had to explain the house rules to a bored house plant, how would you pitch it to that plant in one sentence?
To a bored houseplant. Um, oh my God. I feel like my go-to is just always, I'm like, take the Great Gatsby, make it a little darker, make it a little, little horrific, and there you go.
Yeah, that's
I don't know if
about
the house
right.
plan knows what that book is, but I mean, I guess it's like imagine you're getting overwatered, but it's 300 pages straight. Just waterboard the plant.
Let's talk a little bit about your acting. What was your favorite role that you've been able to do? Commercial, movies, whatever.
Um, I don't know. I did this vampire movie last year. I think it's coming out this year. Um, I was just in the very end of it, but it was fun. It was a lot of it was also based on a book series that the director writer is adapting into movies. So that was fun. Uh, it was based on the book series The Magic Wars. Um, and it's like a prequel to that. So I got to be one of the vampires. It was very like Vampire Diaries, ask my character. So that was fun.
Oh wow.
Uh, I'm waiting to hear back about him. If I'm actually, they're supposed to tell me today. I'm waiting to hear if I got a role on this TV show. They haven't, they have not sent me the email yet. So it's up in the air. Uh, yeah, I don't know. It's been a lot of, I feel like I haven't booked that many acting roles lately, but I've been doing a lot of background on TV shows. So that's been really fun to just kind of be a part of them.
Yeah.
I usually edit my books while I'm doing those. So the first book actually I for this one I was I did the first draft before I moved to LA, and then the second draft I was editing it while I lived in LA. Well, I still do. But I wanted to add this like medical subplot, and I was inspired because on Grey's Anatomy for like a year, and I was just like looking around, and I was like, this is giving me like medical ideas. This is giving me like little excerpts on like genetic engineering and stuff like that. So I feel like if I wasn't on that show, I never would have added that kind of pivot to the book, and it really helped make it, I think, better in like an
Yeah.
unexpected way.
Well, if you ever need a medical advisor, I'm an EMT, so
Oh,
you
perfect.
know that stuff that they do on Grey's Anatomy is not always accurate. It's very
No.
entertaining, but it's not always accurate. No.
Do you could you, how about that? Could you see yourself putting a little sci-fi into the horror and making these traps and these things just so much bigger? I would have, if it were me, I would have a hard time keeping it real.
I feel like I don't know. I I always kind of go in with the intention that I'm like, how much would this be to like make this as a movie or something? And I feel like once you throw sci-fi in, it adds like millions of dollars. So it always like scares me at first. And from starting at a background of like making short films and then filming them myself with my friends, I'm always like so budget conscious that I have to like knock myself out of it when I'm writing books. I'm like, you're not paying for it, relax. Just write. I'm like, no, I can't. It's gonna cost so much money. And then my friends are like, you're fine. No, it's not you're fine. Just write the thing.
Well, you could, always, if you always have an issue, you can make it a little paranormal, and that
Mhm.
way, you don't have,
Yeah,
you
that's
can just
cheaper.
go that route.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to, I don't know. I really liked writing horror, but I think the amount of I think the next one that would be horror would have to be more, I think, psychological thrilling
Yeah.
because writing this much action was exhausting. It was
I can,
very
I can
it was hard.
imagine. I mean, to not give too much away, but some of the situations that those people get put in, or the characters
Hmm.
get put in, I mean, to us, it's two or three chapters, but to you, I mean, you have to work it from you have to get everything worked out, lined up. You know,
Yeah.
the saw, like you mentioned the saw-esque and the maze type stuff, but you take it to another level, and
Mhm.
it's so intense that would just be draining
Yeah.
to write that.
It's just kind of it's hard to lead like someone just with words like down routes that without sounding repetitive because I definitely have like I think there's one section there's just a lot of rooms like every room is has four doors and you go to the next room four doors and I was like how do you I'm like how do I make sure the reader isn't like I'm like okay your face pretend you're facing forward the door's on your right and then the person turns and I'm like well now the door's behind you but I don't want to just get people all lost and confused so I had to cut a lot of stuff I cut like a couple chapters of just excessiveness and I was like they'll just go, I'm just gonna let them pretend whatever they imagine that's the thing because there's no way I can direct everything
Yeah.
and I was actually really disappointed because my favorite escape room that I made in the book it was so like well done on paper and then when I wrote it down I was like this is so confusing I was like I have to like nullify that I have to make this less intense which was so sad because I was like this is it was like this is as I was like on level with the haunted mansion, like kind of mirror or like painting room. I was like, this is so cool. I can't write this. There's no, I don't know how. So I had to
But
be
when it gets
taken
picked up
back,
for a
take a
movie
step back.
adaptation, you need to do it.
Yes, of course. I'll bring it
When it
back.
gets, sorry,
Yes, when is love it when. I hope
you got
so.
to manifest that. Get it going.
Yeah. I'm like I need people to read the book first. I'll get more people to read it, and then hopefully one of them is like, you know what, I'm gonna make this into a movie.
Well, you've got pretty impressive numbers. I've seen some of the posts that you've made on the
Mhm.
Instagram and TikTok. I mean, you've sold a pretty impressive amount of books for a first time author. I mean, it's impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely a I think it really blew up when I put it on this I did this like featured deal with BookBub, I think.
Hmm.
And I think that really helped a lot, making it free for a couple days, getting kind of the word out there. But I just try and post about it every day. I feel like someone once said that every time you post is like getting a lottery ticket, and I was like, well, cheapest lottery ticket I've ever gotten, so I'll
That's
do that.
right.
Uh, so I guess that's just my day, my day by day. And then this month's all book tours, so I'm excited to kind of get more content
Yeah.
to share it with more people.
And you've gotten into some you've gotten into some brick and mortar stores
Hmm.
over in California also, haven't you?
Yeah, couple now across the country, I think. Some in Texas, I think some in Colorado. But yeah, in California, I think I spent the last couple of months just calling like every bookstore and just asking them. I was like, "Can I do a book tour in your shop? I'm going up the coast." Most of them didn't respond. Some of them were like, "We can't do a bookstore or book tour in our shop because it's too small, but we'll just buy your book." And I was like, "Sounds like a great alternative to me." And then the ones that said yes, I put them into a spreadsheet and I just kept calling and making sure and confirming. And then now here we are doing a fun little November Halloween tour.
You should
But
if you ever get to Tennessee, Nashville, have a
mhm.
very cool indie bookstore there called Parnassus. Um, they have a lot of independent folks come in. They also have a lot of the big names. I mean, they had Matthew McConaughey and they had Reese Witherspoon and some of the others. But that's actually traveling distance for both me and Teresa, so
Oh,
we
really?
could come support you.
Yeah, I'd like to, hopefully.
Yeah.
I was thinking I wanted to do like a cross country tour, but I don't know if my car can handle that. And I don't know if I mentally can handle that. So I was like, I'll start with the West Coast and then we'll play it by ear.
Just,
Uh, but
nice, just nice, slow ride across the country.
yeah, I just feel like a lot of bookstores don't do like events during the week, so you're kind of just in limbo a little bit because most
Yeah,
of them do like weekends.
yeah,
So I guess I could drive the weekday. Maybe I need to get a remote job and then I can just do it in my car
yeah.
on the
That's
way,
right.
and then it'd work out perfectly.
Do you
Uh,
do any, have you gone to any book cons or fairs or anything like that?
I haven't yet. No, I keep hearing about them after they're already done.
Yeah.
I probably should research some more, but I was gonna try and start doing farmers markets in
Yeah.
LA, set up a little booth. Um, yeah, that's the plan at least. So
StokerCon, that's an annual thing.
That's a big one.
I've never gone to a StokerCon. I plan
mhm.
on going next year. And this year we did BocerCon, which is more thriller, crime, mystery type stuff. I don't know that
Mhm.
your book would have been, there were horror folks there, but it's mostly a suspense thriller type thing.
Okay.
But it's huge. Next year it's going to be in Calgary, I believe, and then Left Coast Crime is in February in San Francisco.
Oh,
Um,
okay. That's pretty
that
close.
I don't know how far that is from where you're at, but
Well, I'm driving there
it's
next
too
week,
far for
so
me to drive to
yeah.
California from Tennessee. So
I'm like, yeah, let me write this down.
You definitely need to get into like the Stoker Con and get out there and network and talk and make connections, find your people.
it
Mhm.
really it's so we went like at BocerCon, those even the big names, the S.A. Cosby, Michael Connolly,
Mhm.
Craig
Jennifer,
Johnson,
who?
Craig
Craig
Johnson.
Johnson. I mean, they are so approachable. Of course, you don't want to fanboy up to them, oh my God, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they they're so cool and they're very accommodating. And it's a different atmosphere, I guess you could say, if they know that you're a writer and, of course you're gonna have to give
Yeah.
out a few books, but it could make some really good contacts.
Yeah. No, I definitely want, I've been invited to some of them, but they're all been like, I was like, I don't know if I'm like to buy the hotel and the fly out. I was like, that might not be in the cards just yet. But
Yeah,
I did go to the Reese's Book Club Summit a couple weeks ago. So that was fun.
yeah.
Um, that just happened to be like 5 minutes from my house. So that was
Oh
great
wow.
at Universal Studios. So I'm like, perfect. Um, but yeah, we'll see what's in store. I'm hoping to just keep building. I actually and probably start writing again. It's been a couple months. I've been so, caught in the horror mindset and then
Yeah.
flipping to a coming of age has been very big jump.
Do you have a goal set for when you want the new YA coming of age to hit bookshelf bookshelves?
I haven't set one yet. I might try and do whenever my schedule gets a little lighter, I might try and do a 30-day, maybe try and write it in 30 days and see how that
Yeah.
goes. I feel like that actually helped a lot for the last one. It really forced me to actually stop thinking about, like, I keep rewriting the first, like, because the first sentence always gets me. I'll write and then I'll go back and be like, oh, this could be more eye-catching.
Yeah.
And that always gets you stuck in like a loop.
And that was very entertaining too. I mean, it, made you want to click on your profile and go back a couple of posts and see what you've done because I don't always get to go on every day. I post every day, but I don't get to view every day.
Yeah.
So that was interesting to get to go back and see, show you throw your pen up in the air when you get to a point to where you've got to do something horrible to one of the characters, maybe. And it was really fun to watch that.
I'm glad. Yeah, I don't really have I feel like you're supposed to have like a niche, but I can't seem to just stick to one. I just like making kind of funnier videos. I just started making this little drinking series with my roommate that's been fun to make. We just haven't been able to find time to film them, but uh, yeah, as two non-bartenders, it's been pretty funny to try and successfully make drinks and base them on books. But yeah, maybe we'll do that today.
Scott, we need to make sure that the viewers know that both of these are on Kindle Unlimited too.
Okay, they are on KU.
Yep, they are.
They're
All right. I'll add that
on
to the
KU.
post.
Um, I also signed copies available on my website if you want a
Yeah, go
signed copy
ahead.
for the same
You
price as
can
a regular copy.
tell everybody how they can find you on your
Yeah.
socials. Give us your handles and your website and all that.
Yeah, so if you go to oh my gosh, what is my Instagram is Calvin Naraghi writer, and I believe my TikTok is Calvin Writes Stories, possibly. Let me check. Let me check on that. Calvin Naraghi writer for both. Yeah, Calvin Naraghi
Okay.
writer, and both have a link tree that you can go to my website. It's pretty self-explanatory in link tree. It says where you can get them on Amazon, get signed copies. The signed copies are uh, shipping and handling included, so it's kind of like the same as the Amazon. You get a signed copy, so a little treat.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, I post on my socials every day. I have a newsletter I post on twice a month, if I remember. It's usually once a month. Uh, and yeah, and book two is kicking off. So I think it's at a month in now. Almost not even a month in, yeah. Like 3 4 weeks,
If
3 weeks.
you hadn't went to Japan, we could have done this sooner and, got it out there, but somebody had to take a trip.
Yeah, I don't regret that. That was great.
You need a break every once in a while. Was it a working trip or was it just vacation?
It was both. It was vacation and then, just trying to making content and trying to sell books on the side.
Yeah.
Um, because like week in Thailand, week in Japan.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize you went to Thailand. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was really fun. Really hot, but fun.
Yeah. We both are big into the suspense thriller horror genre,
Mhm.
which is kind of unusual for a lady to like that. But my wife's the same way. She reads what I read, and she absolutely loved the house rules.
Oh,
And
really?
she told me that she said, "Well, you need to go ahead and buy me a copy of because I only had the ebook." She said, and she doesn't read ebooks. And she said, "You
Yeah.
need to go ahead and buy a copy of that and get him to send it to you." I was like, "Okay, I will." So, but um, the
Didn't you win that giveaway?
I don't know. I don't remember entering that. I just remember the book showing up, and I was like, huh, this is cool. But I don't remember entering it. I really don't. Did you, was it and I had to have entered it. I mean, I gave you my
Yeah.
address, but,
I didn't do it, or I did it through like this website that does giveaways.
oh,
I don't remember what
okay.
it was called though.
Yeah,
That was like way back when I had a I forgot what you call it, like a kind of like a publicist for like a month that I paid for to like get it kind of started off the cusp.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
your book was the first, uh, signed book that I got in the mail. I mean, I had gotten some other books, but yours was the very first one that was signed. And I'll keep it forever. So,
what an honor.
yeah,
First one on the show.
that's right.
All
So,
good. Yeah, I have a lot of friends that read my stuff and they're like, and then they look at me and they're like, "You wrote this? You can't even hold like two thoughts together." I'll say them out loud. And I was like, that's why I write because I can like space out my time. It's
yeah.
so much easier to wrap my head around thoughts. But yeah, I guess I would just say book tour this month if you're in San Francisco, Petaluma, Sacramento, or Seattle or San Diego. I will be visiting. Come out to the stores. It's gonna be on my Instagram. No, of course, it's been great. You guys have a great. I like the energy of this podcast. You guys
We
have a
have
good back and
fun.
forth.
We're both lovers of books.
I appreciate it. So where's your podcast? It's on YouTube, right?
It is on YouTube. It's One Final Twist. Teresa, do you have anything else?
Nope, I don't have anything.
You like you're feeling better. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank
So,
you.
and Calvin, we do appreciate you.
Great. I look forward to watching it.
All righty. Well, we do thank you, and we will talk to you later.
Great.
Thank
Have a great rest of
you.
your
Thank
day.
you.
Bye.